So, Wizard of the Coast has decided. Well, yeah, Wizard of the Coast, one D&D will now use the term species instead of race. And it was kind of interesting when I heard this because I kind of had the same issue when I was going to do The Last Days of Atlantis. I wanted to call them something besides race. And the reason was at first I thought, well, there are some creatures that you can play that really wasn't my idea of what would be a race. I was thinking something biological, um, like the mannequins, and even something like the she wouldn't really be a race. And then I realized that's really the only word you can use. Species. Well, let's back up a little bit. So the term race, as it refers to like skin color, is actually a pretty recent word to be used for skin color. Um, we think of the human race, um, and the way it was used by people such as Shakespeare and other writers, meaning a group of individuals. That's really what race is. And so, in a, and especially if talking about a fantasy set, now you could get away with that if you were talking about like going to do a gamma world or some kind of sci-fi thing. Species would really make a lot of sense, especially. Well, actually, I don't think species would, because what about androids? What you see, always going back to those artificial beings. I truly think race is the only word that makes sense. And what Wizard of the Coast is doing, and if it was coming from a real place, somebody who's sitting there going, I just don't think this makes sense as far as like for logistic reasons, but they're not. They're going with this with full guns because of some kind of SJW PC political correctness thing. Because to them, race can only mean one thing, right? It's all about skin color and privilege and equity and all those sort of things, but it's not. Race has for hundreds of years at least, if not century, well, maybe hundreds of years, has meant a group. And so it's the only word. I mean, I've literally, and I thought about this today. I thought, well, I've thought about it even more before that. When like I said, when I was doing the Last Days of Atlantis, I was going to call it something else. One game, I believe, I want to say it's True 20 uses the term background. The only problem with that is, I remember looking at that, I thought, well, the background means more like your history. And so it doesn't really work. Nothing works in place of race. And I wonder how it works out in other languages, right? But in the English language, race is the only thing that is clear enough to be used in a game setting where you have all kinds of different types of beings, robotic type beings, beings that are hybrids of one race or another, and in fact, I think what really needs to be done is maybe use the word ethnicity for race in games like this. Like, for instance, if we were talking about the World Greyhawk, and you have the Balkanish people, and you have the Sulis, and you have the Oridians, those are ethnic people. These, the human race, and you have the human race, and you have all these different types, right? Um, it is the only thing that makes it clear. Race is the only thing that makes it clear. And by trying to put species in there, what they're doing, it's like that little game you had when you were a kid, and you were not even crawling yet. It was that little ball with the little shapes on it. You have to put the shape in the right shape in the right hole. You're putting the star into the circle. It's not working. And you're trying to pound it, and that's what they're doing. They're pounding the freaking thing in there, and they're going to break the ball just to make their point. So, once again, race is the only word that makes sense.